So how to build your DPS Sethos. In this video, I'm just going to be explaining his kit very quick, how to build him and how to play him. And hopefully by the end, you're going to build a very good Sethos. But if you want to get Sethos, you probably want to get some of his Constellations. And to do that, you're going to need quite a bit of Genesis crystals. The best way to buy cheap Genesis crystals is going to be throughout Lootbar GG. Lootbar is going to be a very safe and secure top-up website where you can buy different games currencies such as Genshin Impact's Genesis crystals. They offer very good pricings compared to the official stores. All you need to go is go to the website from the link in the description or the pinned comment. It's going to take you to the Genshin Impact's page. You're going to pick an offer. For example, I'm going to buy this offer right now. In the official store, that's going to cost me around $50, but on Lootbar, it's going to cost me around $42. And even less if you have coupon codes, which you're going to get a bunch of when you first register to the website. So yeah, I'm just going to pick this offer right here. You're going to fill in your user ID and the server region you play in. Obviously, double check to make sure these are right. And then you're just going to click on top up now. You choose a payment method and then you pay. After you pay, you're just going to find the Genesis crystals on your account within like 3 minutes. You don't have to do anything. You just open up the game and the Genesis crystals are going to be there. That's it. These are some reviews from people who already use Lootbar. And also, if anything, if you face any problems or something like that, they have a 24/7 chat that you can just contact and they're going to help you make sure everything goes smoothly. Make sure you use the link in the description or the pinned comment to buy cheap Genesis crystals from Lootbar. Alright, so back to the video, we're going to explain his kit very quick and how he works. First of all, he scales off with Elemental Mastery, and then for his normal attacks, he can just normal attack like any normal bow user. He has like 3 attacks and then 1 charge attack. The only thing special about that is that he has a very special charge attack. It's going to take a while to charge, but it's going to be pretty strong. It's going to scale off both attack and Elemental Mastery. So yeah, it's going to be a very strong charge attack. The only downside is that you're going to need quite a bit of time to charge it. Your elemental skill is just going to be regenerating energy and dealing a little bit of damage, so nothing really special about it. And then your elemental burst is just going to enhance your normal attacks, and it's going to count them as charge attacks, even though they are normal attacks. But yeah, it's just going to add in a scaling of elemental mastery to them, and they're going to be pretty strong. This first passive is simply just going to allow you to consume some energy and then have an instant charge attack. So if you have more than 20 energy, whenever you try to charge attack, it's just going to instantly normally charge. But you're going to consume energy, so you're going to consume energy to fire off a very quick charge attack. And then the second passive is just going to buff your charge attacks by 700% of your elemental mastery. It's going to buff some of them, not all of them, but it's still going to be a very good damage increase. That's pretty much all of his kit, really. With that being said, I'm going to explain how you should play him very quick. So there are generally like 3 ways on how you can play Sethos. The first one is that you're just going to gather energy and then just use your charge attacks to fire them instantly, and it's going to be a viable way to play him. The second one will be just like saving up energy until you can use your elemental burst, and then use your elemental burst and just use your normal attacks. That's also going to be a viable way to play him. Those are the main ways you can play him. Or if you have him C6, you can just mix them a little bit. So you can just do your elemental burst rotation normally, wait for your energy and then use it and then just normal attack. And then after you finish, you're going to gain a free charge attack, so you can just do it. To be honest, either playstyle is going to work really. Even if you don't have C6, you can probably mix in the third playstyle, but it's going to require a bit of energy, so be careful. It depends on like the team and how much energy recharge you have, but if you can do it, then you can just use your elemental burst and then use like 1 extra charge attack, and then that's it. And then wait again until you get your elemental burst and repeat. If you have C6, that's going to be much easier because you're going to gain a free charge attack. But yeah, for his playstyle in general, either just spam charge attacks until you run out of energy, wait for your energy to load, and then just use your elemental burst and then normal attack, or mix them both and use your elemental burst and then just get a little bit more energy and then use an extra charge attack. That's it. I mean, all of them work. I prefer you use either the first or second one if you don't have C6, because they're not going to require as much energy as the third one, but either of them is going to work depending on your build. Now, moving on to his talent priorities, it also depends on the playstyle. If you're playing the first playstyle, which is just spam your charge attacks, in that case, obviously you just want to upgrade your normal attacks and then that's it. His skill and bursts are not really going to be that important, so you might skip them. If you're playing him in a burst playstyle where you use your elemental burst and then normal attack, in that case, you'd also want to upgrade your normal attacks first still, because they're going to be the main multiplier, the main attack multiplier, and then you'd want to upgrade your elemental burst. But you'd want to keep them close because they're both going to, affect your damage. damage. Your elemental skill, you can skip it probably again, but if you want to upgrade it, you can. It's just going to give you a little bit more damage. It's not going to regenerate more energy or anything like that, so it's probably not worth investing too much into it. Now, moving on to his constellations very quick. The first one is just going to increase the crit rate of your special charge attack by 15%. That's only going to count towards like your special charge attack, not the damage from your elemental burst. So you're only going to benefit from it if you're using your charge attacks consistently. So yeah, for a charge attacks playstyle, it's going to be pretty good. If you're playing them with your elemental burst, then it's probably not going to be worth it. Even if you're going to fit in one extra charge attack or anything, still not worth it in my opinion. C2 is going to give you a 15% electro damage bonus for 2 stacks, which means 30% electro damage bonus. You can do it by either just consuming energy throughout your aim shots, or if you gain energy by doing a reaction from your elemental burst, or just by, using your elemental burst period. So pretty much it's just going to be easy to get the stacks by either playstyle, and it's going to grant you 30% electro damage bonus, which is always good. So yeah, I'd say C2 is a good constellation. C3 is just going to increase the level of your normal attacks talent, so it's going to be very, very good. On the charge attacks playstyle, it's going to increase the attack multipliers and the elemental mastery multipliers, and also on the burst playstyle, as I said before, they're going to be the same multipliers, so you're going to benefit from it too. I'd say it's a decent constellation, especially for C3, it's pretty good. C4 is that when your shots go through 2 opponents or more, all of your party is going to gain 80 elemental mastery. I guess it's a good like supportive passive, but it's kind of meh. I mean, you're probably not going to need it as much, and the condition to trigger it is going to maybe hard. It just depends on what enemies you have, so I wouldn't really say C4 is worth it. C5 is just going to increase the level of your elemental burst. Pretty good for a burst playstyle. Obviously, for a charge attacks playstyle, you're probably not going to need it at all, but for a burst playstyle, it's just going to increase your elemental mastery multipliers, which is pretty good. And then finally, C6, it's pretty much just going to give you a free charge shot without consuming any energy, so you can just charge it pretty fast, and you're not really going to consume any energy. That's very good in my opinion. So if you're playing like a burst playstyle, you can just have a free extra shot at the end of your rotation, or if you have enough energy, you can do 2 extra shots in this case if you have C6. And for a charge attacks playstyle, obviously it's just a free shot. So yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. As a C6, it's kind of, average, nothing really special about it, but it's going to increase your damage by a lot. Usually you're going to be doing like 4 or 3 charge shots anyways, so having an extra one is going to be like a 20-25% damage increase, which is pretty good. So yeah, I'd say C6 is cool, but definitely not necessary. For his constellations as a whole, I'd say each of them is going to add something, but none of them are really going to be like necessary. I'd say just go for as much as you can. I mean, as a 4-star DPS, it's not going to be like competent anyways, so it's going to obviously, benefit from constellations to be like more competent. So just get as much as you can, maybe C2, C3, and whatever. The more you get, the better, but he can be played at C0. None of them are going to be like revolutionary or going to change his playstyle or anything like that. Now for his weapons, he's gonna be kind of a normal DPS, except he scales more with elemental mastery. So it's just your normal, attack and crit weapons, and then you can add an elemental mastery to the mix. That's generally it. Obviously the best in slot option is definitely gonna be the Hunter's Bat. That Signary's weapon is gonna give you crit rate, damage bonus, and then it's gonna buff your charge attacks by a lot. For either playstyle, that weapon is gonna be pretty good. So if you have it, it's definitely gonna be the best in slot weapon for Sethos. Something like the Aqua Simulacra is probably gonna be his next best weapon, just for the crit damage, and then it's just gonna give you damage bonus, which is pretty good. Now for the 4-star options, you probably have like the Cloud Forged. It's just gonna give you a lot of elemental mastery, so you can probably use it. Windbloom Ode is also gonna give you a lot of elemental mastery, so you can also use it. Stringless is also pretty good. Or again, any crit 4-star weapons are gonna be good like crit statistics. But generally, especially for Sethos, going for an elemental mastery weapon is not gonna be bad. So yeah, you can probably use these. For the 3-star options, you can go for the elemental mastery option too, even though it's not going to give you as much, and the passive is going to be like completely useless pretty much. So you can use the Raven Bow for elemental mastery, but you also have the crit option. If you use the slingshot, it's going to give you a lot of crit rate, and then it's going to give you damage bonus, which is pretty good, and it's also going to give you a lot of damage bonus. Personally, I just prefer the slingshot. I think it's just much better, even though it's not going to give you any elemental mastery, but the crit rate is going to be worth it, and the damage bonus is also going to be worth it. The low base attack is not going to matter as much. But yeah, those are like the general weapons you'd want to use, but as I said before, any crit rate or crit damage stat sticks are gonna work too. So the rest of the 5 stars that have any crit, rest of the 4 stars that have any crit and stuff like that, those are also gonna work. But generally, specific weapons for Sethos, these are the ones. Alright, so now moving on to your artifact sets. The first and obvious set you'd want to use is probably going to be the 4-piece Wanderers. It's just going to give you elemental mastery and then buff your charge attacks. It's literally just like perfect for Sethos. It's everything he needs. A lot of damage bonus and then some elemental mastery, so it's a pretty good set to use. If you have a good set farm, then you should probably go for it for Sethos. 4-piece Gilded Dreams is also going to be pretty good. It's going to increase both your elemental mastery and attack, which Sethos likes both for both playstyles, so you can probably use the 4-piece Gilded Dreams too. Thunder and Fury is also going to be a decent option. It's just going to give you damage bonus, and then it's going to increase your reactions damage. And you're probably going to be playing them in reactions teams, as we're going to see in his team comps in a little bit. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a very usable set. Those are probably the only 4 pieces you want to use. You can also mix 2 pieces, obviously, like any of these 2 pieces. Any that can give you like elemental mastery or electro damage bonus, or like normal and charge attacks damage bonus, like the Marcheuse set, for example. All of these are going to work, so you can just mix 2 pieces of them, and it's going to be fine if you don't have a 4-piece farm. Now, moving on to his artifact stats. For the main stats, you definitely want to go elemental mastery on your sands. It's going to scale much better than attack, in my opinion, because it's going to help out your reactions, and also he's going to scale more with elemental mastery, even for his multipliers, with both blade styles probably. So elemental mastery is probably going to be the only option you want to go on your sands. On your goblet, you'd want to go electro damage bonus or elemental mastery. Both of them are going to work. Personally, I prefer elemental damage bonus because you're probably going to have enough elemental mastery from other sources. But damage bonus, it depends on your artifacts and stuff like that, and your weapon. But to be honest, they're gonna be very close, so I just say just go with whatever has the better substats, and it's gonna work. And then finally, for your circlet, you definitely want to go crit, either crit rate or crit damage. That's probably your only like real source of crit besides your weapon, depending on which weapon you use. You can go elemental mastery if you have enough crit somehow, like very good substats and then a crit weapon. But generally speaking, I'd say just crit rate or crit damage is definitely gonna be the better option. Now for your substats, you'd want to go for elemental mastery, crit, obviously crit rate or crit damage. Attack is also not going to be bad, and then energy recharge is not going to be bad. I don't know what you should focus on, to be honest. It heavily depends on what you had on your weapon and your main stats and stuff like that, but all of these are definitely going to be pretty good. So yeah, wherever you see these, just try to get them. Now for the final stats you'd want to have on your Sethos, you definitely want to have enough crit on him because it's going to be crit and always like a normal DPS. So you'd want to keep in like 60 to 70% crit rate, 100 to 140% or more crit damage. And then finally for energy recharge, you actually do want to have some energy recharge. I'd say maybe around 120% is going to be enough. If you want to have more too, it's not going to hurt, like up to 140 or something like that. It depends on which playstyle you want to have and how much you'd want to like squeeze his performance, if that makes sense. And also which teammates you're playing them in. So if you're playing them with like Fischl, for example, she's going to help you out a lot with energy, so you might need a little less. And as I said before, if you're playing them in like a burst playstyle, sometimes you can just squeeze in an extra like charge attack, and then you can charge the energy for your burst. So having like more energy recharge might help you with that. But you're gonna need a lot of energy recharge, like 140 or somewhere around that. With Fischl, obviously, to be able to maintain that every time. Because in that case, you're gonna be charging like 80 energy, which is kind of hard. So yeah, in general, I'd say like 110, 120 is gonna be enough. If you wanna have like extra charge attacks, or you're not playing with Fischl, for example, or something like that, in that case, you might need up to like 140 or, you know, a little more, a little less. But yeah, this is generally the range. Alright, so now finally moving on to this team. So starting off with his best teammate, you'd want to have her on every Sethos team. Doesn't matter what it is, well, how are you playing him, whatever. It's Fischl. She's just going to be a great electro battery for him with the electro resonance. So she's going to help him out a lot with energy. And then also she's going to be dealing good extra damage without really doing anything. You just pop her skill or her elemental burst and then just stay out of the field. So you definitely want to pair her with Sethos at any team. But yeah, with that being said, we have Sethos and Fischl. For the rest 2 team members, it depends on like what team you'd want to play. Obviously, you'd want to play a reactions team because that's the way you'd want to amplify his damage. And also, if you're playing a burst style, in that case, reaction teams are just going to perform much better because they're also going to help you out with energy. Reactions might include like the obvious aggravate teams. So you can just have like an extra 2 Dendros, like Naida, for example, and then let's say Beiju. Or if you want to mix in like Kazuha, for example, it's going to be pretty good too. So that's just an aggravate team. You just want to have, you know, a Dendro and then another buffer on your team. You can also play them in hyper bloom teams. So obviously, obviously you're just gonna need the Hydro and then another Dendro. So you can just keep Beiju, for example, or Nahida, either one of them. And then you can add in a Hydro enabler like Fiorina, for example. If you're playing them in a burst team and you're gonna be normal attacking, you can have like Xingqiu or Yellen, or you can have like Sijuin, for example, whatever. Any Hydro enabler is gonna work. Or finally, you can have him, the last reaction, the last viable electro reaction is gonna be overloaded teams. So you can have him with Fischl, and then you can add in like Chevreuse, for example, because it's just gonna be pretty good for any overloaded team. And then you can add in any Pyro or Electro you want. So let's say just spin it as a buffer, whatever. Those are gonna be his main teams. As I said before, you just want to play him in like normal Electro DPS reaction teams. There's also gonna be scaling with Elemental Mastery, so they're all gonna be pretty good. But yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. Peace.